Hi, and thanks for watching episode 12 of our Trader series. My name is Vincent and I work at Maven. Today I would like to discuss a very special option structure. It's very commonly used across traders, and it's a very intuitive way of estimating volatility. Let's say we have a stock and the stock trades 100, and this is a structure we would like to set up. So what I would like to do, I would like to buy the 100 strike call for a price of $4, for example, and also simultaneously I would like to buy the 100 strike put, also for $4. It's not really a coincidence that they're both equally expensive, because it's basically centered around the same strike. So now you can see if I add both legs, so this is the graph of the call price and this is the graph of the put price, and you add both graphs, you get the straddle. The straddle says you buy the call and you buy the put at the same strike price, and you get kind of the yellowish expiry graph. So if you wait until expiry, you fast forward to maturity date, this is what your P&L graph would look like. So you can already spot two break-even points. It says only if the stock falls below 92 or if it exceeds the 108 price, that's where you make money. Otherwise, if you stay within this triangle, you kind of stand to lose money. And the worst case scenario is on expiry date, the stock actually still trades at 100. So this particular structure, the at-the-money straddle, why at the money? Because the stock trades 100 and the strikes at issue are both the 100 strike and put. So the at-the-money straddle is a very intuitive structure. You need to know we are here right now, and at what two break-even points am I stand to make money? So the yellow line would be the profit and loss at expiry. How does it look like away from expiry? So first of all, the value you paid for the straddle is 8, 4 plus 4. So if the stock stays at 100, so we are here now away from expiry, let's say the stock doesn't move at all, it just stays where it is, slowly but surely you kind of stand to lose all your 8, right? So if the stock stays at 100 and you did nothing, you lose it all. For the close watchers, you can come up with a scenario that we are here right now, the stock trades 100, it starts moving wildly, it goes to 110 on one day, back to 90 and up and down, and it lands where it actually stays. So in December it actually is worth 100 again. You could have profited from those gamma trades you did. So that's definitely a scenario where meanwhile the stocks move up and down very hard and it will land exactly on 100 again. That's one way of making a profit. So the question is, what if it moves a lot? If it moves a lot in one way, it's also fine, right? What if the stock goes to 150 and it stays there? Well, you can clearly see that you make a lot of profit there. And even if the stock goes down a lot to 70, you make a lot of profit. Now, at any point in time, away from expiry, this at-the-money straddle has a very nice approximation formula. To price an option, there's a formula, we call it the Black-Scholes formula. We already know the inputs of this formula. You know the stock price, the time till expiry, interest rates and dividends, we discussed it before. But specifically for this intuitive at-the-money straddle, there's an intuitive formula. And it looks like this. Y, the symbol Y stands for straddle. So this is the formula, approximation for the at-the-money straddle. And it says it's roughly 0.8 times the stock price times the implied volatility, times the square root of time. So you can see, indeed, there are some well-known inputs there, but it's a straightforward formula. It has some assumptions. What assumptions are there? First of all, this thing assumes that interest rates are zero, which they kind of are. So that's some sort of an assumption we can live with. There's no dividend here, so we have to assume that there are no dividends throughout the lifetime, which is also a fine assumption to make for short-term options, for example. And you might have expected an X in there for the strike price, because the strike price is also an input of an option price. But since we are at the money, the stock price equals the strike price, right? Because we said here before, the stock trades 100, but we were talking about the 100 strike call. So the strike is equal to the stock. Means at the money, so therefore you won't see the strike here anymore. So this is a very, very useful and good approximation formula for the at-the-money straddle. Just to keep an eye before you start using it, the implied volatility is in decimals, so you have to enter here 0.16 instead of the number 16, and the time is in years. So there are variations on this particular formula that express the volatility in an actual number and, for example, the time in days. But for now, let's leave it this way. And we can make very quick and rough estimations with it. For example, let's say we have the S&P index. It rates $4,000. There's 3 months to live, the option till maturity, and assume that the volatility is 16, which means roughly 1% every day we're going to move. Then we make use of the formula and plug in the right numbers. And, well, if you do it mathematically quickly, you can see what this is a half and this is 0.16. It ends up to 256. So the price of the at-the-money straddle today is $256. So what can we do with it? First of all, we know what the break-even points are from an expiry point of view. But we also know that we can typically express the 256 as a percentage of the stock price. So a trader would say, the current straddle is around 6.4% of the product price we're talking about. So we need to move around 6.4% in either direction to make a profit, on average, again. So fairly quickly, only by knowing the inputs and have an approximation formula, you can kind of already pre-calculate quickly and roughly the required move necessary without actually needing to use that very complicated Black-Scholes formula. The last very nice benefit is that this formula is also relatively easy to reverse engineer. If I already know the price of the at-the-money straddle, it's fairly easy to actually back out the implied volatility, which is a very useful number. If you tell me what the price of a straddle is, and I can quickly use this formula, of course you need to tell me what product it's about and how much time there still is, but I can quickly back out what the implied volatility is. And if that number is like 24, I can say, apparently this product is priced in to move 1.5% every day. And I can make an assessment if that's a lot or not based on my trading experience. If you tell me the stock Tesla is going to move 1.5% every day, I think it's going to be more because it's a much more volatile product. But the S&P to be moving 1.5% every day, that's a bit of a high number. So I would say that's a bit of an expensive straddle. That's how I would make a quick assessment using this approximation formula. So in short, the at-the-money straddle itself is an intuitive option structure. We gave you the formula for it, the approximation formula, and it says something about the required move for the remaining period. It has to move 6.5% either direction, on average. Vice versa, knowing the straddle value already, you can easily back out the implied volatility number and make a decent assessment whether the straddle price is expensive or cheap. Well, hopefully you like this module. Stay tuned for more.